Hi, my name's Danielle, and I just want to make kind of like a super real, raw video about my feelings about the LDS Church. And I'm just kind of, I've been, I've stopped believing like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years. I think it's been two, but yeah, and I'm still just trying to figure out how to move forward. Still feeling very much in shock after reading the CES letter, and it's just every weekend this whole time it's been rough. I think it's just like when I know that there's people going to church, and like my husband and my daughter go to church every Sunday, and I try to just like stay home and distract myself, but it's really hard to keep myself distracted and just like trying to find ways to move forward is like it's very, very hard. And I mean, I've talked to a few therapists, but they don't really get my background. And so I feel like what they've told me, I don't know if I trust it, or, I mean, like, they basically are just like, or what people just keep telling me is just ignore, like, how you're feeling, or, like, you move forward, just, like, stop caring about it, stop feeling things, and just, like, distract yourself with other things, and eventually you'll be able to move forward. But, and like, I don't know, I can do that for a time. I've definitely had distractions for like a few days at a time where I'm like, got other things I'm focusing on, other projects I'm working on, and it does work. Like, I'm able to keep myself distracted and not thinking about the LDS Church, just enjoying life, and so like I get like a taste for what it feels like to like move forward, but like all of the emotions and like that kind of stuff, it's just still there. So like when I have any type of downtime, or just, I don't know, just randomly, like I'll have like a whole day where I'm just like thinking about church stuff, and yeah, because it's like all that stuff's still there, and it's really like they say it's kind of like grieving, and like I don't think that's ever going to go away. So I don't know really what to do, and I'm just kind of trying to process my feelings about it all. And I don't know, I think talking about it helps, and sometimes like I've tried reaching out to different people. A lot of people have been very helpful, just to talk about stuff, or other people who have kind of moved forward or whatever. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of really kind people in my life, but just none of them are like what I really want, if that makes sense. I don't know, like they're helpful, but like what I really want is to be able to, talk to my parents, just be extremely open with them about all of my thoughts and feelings about things, talk for hours with them about everything that I've learned about church history, and to have them just like listen and believe me and understand, and validate my feelings about the church and why I'm just so like shocked about things and angry about things, and to not feel like I'm being judged, that I'm like being led astray, or just, lazy or whatever. Just having my parents or these people like from my current ward, being able to have them just like really like understand me, and I feel like it'll take, probably like a few hours to like of somebody's time to sit down and like understand where I'm at. And that's kind of a lot to ask from someone, but it's just what I wish that that's how things were, or that I had that. But I have to let go of that because that's, relying on other people's choices. So I have to like just do what I can do to like feel okay after all this. And it's just really hard to try to distract myself, and I just feel like I just don't want to, it's exhausting to try to like distract myself all the time, constantly be trying to find something to occupy myself productively. Like I watch my daughter all day long, and that's good. It's another good distraction, but it's just like you can't distract yourself your whole life. And I kind of understand like why people do drugs and stuff, just like because that's one way that you could basically distract yourself for your whole life, is just be on drugs. And I mean, I don't really want to do drugs, but like I'm almost like, is that the only solution to this, is just to do drugs and constantly distract from the grief and the pain and the anger and hopelessness and just, yeah. And then and then saying that, I'm like, if members are listening to this, then I'm like, then they're gonna be like, oh yeah, you're feeling hopeless because you've left the church. And just, yeah, it's just so frustrating because I'm like, okay, like just sit down with me for a few hours and understand what I mean by the hopelessness. And yeah, it's just exhausting. You're like trying to like talk to these people who are just 180 different views, and I understand their point of view because I was there. I was in their shoes for 27 years of my life. I understand what the believing member of the LDS church like feels. Maybe not like about every topic or whatever, but like I have a pretty good, feel for what that's like. And it's frustrating because they, like most of them, do not have any idea what it's like going through a faith crisis and leaving the church. And so it's just so hard to have conversations because I'm like, when I talk with them, I'm like, I talk with them with the understanding of what it's like to be in their shoes. And so like just everything I say, like I kind of filter a lot of things how I explain things, because like I know how it would be perceived by them, or I just like, do a lot of filtering around members. And I know like what would feel offensive to them, or whatever. And then you hear things from them talking to you, and it's just like it's really hard to really take anything that members say like seriously, I guess, because I'm like, they don't really understand what it's like in my position, and they're not taking the time to understand what it's like. And so like if you're not gonna take that time to like understand people who've left the church, and then like I just feel like you don't really have much that you can say, or I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I feel like ex-members are allowed to comment on what members are doing because they've been there before. They know what it's like. they've seen both sides very clearly, but regular members who have not like taken the hours and hours of time and listening to understand an Exmormon perspective, like, it's just hard to take their comments seriously because they really just, they don't know. They don't have any clue. Or maybe, I mean, they might have some ideas of what it's like. But, yeah, so I don't really know what I'm trying to say with that, but that's just something I've kind of been feeling lately is like, I've been in your shoes, but you've never been in mine, and just having that conflict, I guess, that's kind of like just there. Whenever I'm around members, I'm like, it's just frustrating, I guess. And yeah, so I don't really know what I'm trying to say, I guess, with this. I'm just kind of venting my thoughts. I have a blog that helps a lot. Like, I just write. I like write things all, like, every night, almost every night. I'm like, want to write a poem or something about the church and how I'm feeling, because I'm like, that can let my thoughts out there. And I don't even really care if anyone reads my blog. It's just like, I just need to be able to express myself, and if someone listens, then that is great. Then I feel like someone's taking that time to understand me specifically and where I'm at. But yeah, and I can just say, go read my blog, and then I don't have to sit and like explain myself a bunch. Like, if someone takes the time to read my whole blog, then that's, really appreciated, that they can, then I feel like I can like have a conversation with someone more equally, because I'm like, okay, you've taken the time to like, try to understand where I'm at. And I had one member, I guess I don't know if she read my full blog or anything, but she did look at a video. It was like a 2-hour LDS discussions video. She's an active member, and she took that time to look at the video and just share her perspective of it with me. And that meant so much to me. Like, that is, I just wish that like every member I know would take that kind of time. Because what she says, I now see it as like, I take what she says a little more seriously than I would other members, because I know that she actually has put in the time to like understand these different like historical topics. And even though we're not, like, we look at them from different perspectives, or like we have different views on them, but I feel like she has, just a better, she's slipped her feet into my shoes just a little bit, and I feel like I can trust her opinion and thoughts about everything way better than just random people who are like, afraid to look up stuff on the internet, or just like the average member. And so until I know that like a member has taken that time, and like if they've told me like, oh yeah, I've read this and this and this and this, and I've listened to people, and I'm willing to listen to you. You want to go out for lunch and let's talk. Like, once a member has like done that, then I'm like, I just feel more equal, and like, okay, now we can like, talk, and let's discuss. Like, we don't have to, argue about whether the church is true or not. Like, my thing that I really care about is the harm that the church causes, and I think that's a good middle ground, that like everyone can kind of discuss. But if you, you have to kind of like be at that equal level where if you're a member, take the time to like understand where an ex-Mormon is coming from. And it takes a lot. There's just so much out there that I didn't know about the church growing up. And, and then learning about all the harm that people have within the church, and people just want to, paint ex-Mormons as, they just don't understand ex-Mormons, and they just think that we're led by Satan, and we're angry at the church, and we're just always going to be, I don't get it. I mean, like, I used to be there, but yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but, just, there's so many people who don't want to talk to, because it's kind of like, they're like, stay away from talking about politics and religion, and I wish that we could learn as a society, like, how to talk about these things, in a, respectful way, and, like, just recognize, like, I recognize that everyone has, like, and I don't really think that my views right now are necessarily, like, 100% correct, like, that's my view on life, really, is everyone has, their own experiences and the reasons why they believe what they believe, and I think all of them are valid. Like, how you feel about something, it's because of your experiences, and so, like, I don't think it's very valuable to discuss, like, who's right, who's wrong. That doesn't really matter, but what matters, I think, is talking about how, especially with, like, with the church, or really with politics too, is, like, how are people being harmed by, different ideologies or whatever, and listening to people's stories and experiences with things, and, leaving room for some middle ground in, like, in our beliefs, I guess, or to be able to understand someone else's perspective. So maybe you might not agree fully with someone, but you might be able to, like, kind of understand why they're feeling that way, because you've talked with them, you've understood their background, their experiences with it, and why they hold their beliefs so much, just to be able to talk. But it's just so hard when it's like people don't even want to talk. They're like, I don't want, like, they just want to stay far away, and, like, I kind of get it, but I feel like it does more damage in the long run when we can't talk about things, and it gives, or for me right now, like, my emotions and stuff, it's like, it's hard because, well, yeah, that's, like, a big part of it. It's just, I just want to talk about stuff, and I want to have conversations with people, and it's just, like, silence, pretty much, and, yeah, so, yeah, I'm just kind of ranting, but I don't know if anyone else can relate with me or have any advice, or I don't know, but it's just a tough spot to be in, and I just know, like, talking about it like this is something that at least helps just a tiny bit, and so that's why I guess I'm making this video, is just to let it out. So thanks for listening, if you've listened this whole time, and yeah, just, if anyone is, like, an active member and they want to talk and they want to understand the church harm that I'm talking about, like, I would love to have conversations, and, let's try to make changes. That's another frustrating thing is that in the church there isn't a good way to make changes. So when people are aware of harm going on, it's like, I guess the best way to make change is just to talk about it. There's another thing is like, so when people don't talk about things, then we can't create change. But anyway, so like talking about it with people about the harm that's going on, that can help. But really, like if the top leaders can do something about it, then that would be, really make changes, make big changes that way. But then there's problems with that, and like the church does not change, or politics changes a lot better than the church does. I feel like there's systems in place to make sure that power isn't being abused, and in the church it's not that way, and we don't actually vote when we're sustaining someone, and so you just really feel pretty powerless to change anything in the church. And so that's part of the hopelessness that I feel, is seeing all this harm and then being like, well, there's nothing, like, there's no way this is going to change if the leaders aren't going to listen. There's no, like, procedures in place for making changes in the church. And people won't talk about stuff, or listen. Like, people have plenty of videos and things about where they share about church harm, but how many members are out there, like, listening to these people? They just label them anti-Mormon and say, I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear something negative about the church. And I can understand that, because everything growing up about the church for me was very positive, and hearing negative things, it just makes you uncomfortable. But it's really important when there's all this different harm. And I have a blog post about church harm that I just listed a whole bunch of things. So if you want to learn more about church harm, you can go there. It's ldsprayandobey.blogspot.com. But yeah, so like, I just feel kind of stuck. There's like, people won't talk. We can't make changes in the church. I can't talk with my parents the way I want to. And it just like, there's no like release. And I just need, so like making this video, writing my blog, I feel like that's the only thing that I can do. And then talking to people that will talk. Like, there's some ex-Mormons who will talk with me. And that like kind of helps. But what helps the most, like gives me hope, is when I can talk to actual members. Then I'm like, okay, there's hope that maybe some things can change here. Maybe people can feel less judged, or we can understand each other better. Yeah, that just like helps me so much. Like, it's helpful talking to ex-members, but I don't just like to relate with people, but it's just so much more helpful when I can like talk to an actual member and just have a conversation, and might not agree, but just like we can I don't know, just listen to each other, and helps me feel like they're willing to step into my shoes or other ex-member shoes, and not just paint everyone with one brushstroke. And so I don't know. There's so much. I'm still just in shock, really, too, from everything I've learned about the church. Like, it's one of the church harm things is just, I feel like people don't, 8-year-old kids who get baptized, they don't know enough. They don't really know the deep things about the church, and I feel like they should know those things before they get baptized. And it's just like, why not? And I made another video about this too. It's just that it's not right that people don't know things about the church. That it's a very, biased history that the church gives. And I don't think you should fully just, listen to ex-members either. I think you should listen to both and kind of, find somewhere in the middle there is, like, the truth, I guess, between those different biases. But to just stick to the church, what the church tells you, you're missing out on a lot. And yeah, and I wish that people didn't have to go through the big shock that I've been through and other people have been through. It really turns your world upside down and your relationships upside down. And as much as the church likes to say that they bring families together, they're very much tearing families apart through this faith crisis stuff and just all of their rhetoric around people who leave the church, and it tears families apart. I've seen so many stories of this, and it's like just as many as the stories of how many families the church helps. And I grew up just learning about those stories, but never, I guess I did hear about families being torn apart growing up, but it just, the focus was more on, like, the church is the solution to everything, or like, yeah, and then like it would, paint people who leave the church as they're the ones that are tearing the family apart because they left. And anyway, it's just good to like look at it from other perspectives, that maybe it's the church that's tearing families apart and the rhetoric on things, and maybe it's both. Maybe it's church and those who leave the church together are kind of, like, I don't know, this is another good point of conversation that we could talk about, but yeah, so I should probably stop this video, but thanks for listening, and yeah, I hope I can just keep figuring out what to do with all these emotions. And all right, bye.